So first things first, let's talk about the new single. You didn't hear it from me. This is love the tune, but I have questions about the content though, because the song is clearly about getting your heart broken, but living in a small town. I grew up in a town of 1,400 people.
Oh, wow. That's small. Certified small.
Exactly. I'm familiar with this. So is this based on real world experience?
Yeah, it is. We all grew up in small towns as well. And like Connor and I actually from a town of 500 people, which is like, we had to go to the next biggest town to get a bar. But it's, I feel like for anyone who grew up in a small town, that like there's only probably one bar, you know what I mean? You go to, and so if you go through a breakup, we've all been through that thing where you go to the bar and you bump into not only the ex, but their friends and maybe you're kind of avoiding them at first, and then you have a couple drinks and think maybe it's a good idea to go talk to them, and the rest is history.
Exactly. Yeah, if you're going to go to that bar, you're going to see her.
Yeah, exactly. It's inevitable.
Exactly. So, but small town life is kind of that double-edged sword, right? Like, everybody knows you. That's a good thing, but everybody also knows your business.
Yeah, knows your drama. And that was the one thing we said about this song too, is like, if you're from a small town, you know that you don't want to, you can't be too like sad. You don't want to be the dude crying at the bar because everybody's going to know about it. So that's why there's a little bit of that like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, you didn't hear it from me, but I'm struggling. You know what I mean? It's like a little bit covert.
Yeah. So do you guys, Connor, do you miss small town life, or, like, how do you stay connected to that small town feeling when you're not there?
I would say I miss small town life. It's great going home and seeing everybody and knowing everybody, like you said. But I've kind of adjusted because where I live in Nashville is like 20 minutes outside of the city, and it's in the country, and it's a really small community there too. So I've adjusted to that.
Yeah. So you can kind of maintain that sort of small town feeling. Bobby, do you get that? Like, how do you, as a small town guy, keep that small town feeling in a place like Nashville, right?
Yeah, because I grew up in Ajax, Ontario, but like being down in Nashville, like Connor said, like I lived down in it was called Franklin, Tennessee. So it was kind of like a small like little Hallmark town, just south of Nashville. Yeah, I don't know. It's great. You definitely don't miss the traffic when you're out in the country, which is great. And having like when you're getting home late at night, having the back roads are always nice to rip around on the trucks of the Broncos. But yeah, no, Ajax is kind of a bigger town. These guys grew up in a way smaller town than I did. We had a lot of bars in Ajax. Yeah.
100%. I would definitely consider Ajax a big city.
Yeah.
Personally.
For sure.
So you guys, Taylor, let's bring you in. You guys have been at this for, over a decade now. You guys clearly, like, I can tell that you guys legitimately like each other. I don't know.
We're good at faking it. No.
Right? Like, what is the secret sauce? Are you guys like friends first and bandmates and business co-owners second, or like, what's the order of that?
We're all looking.
Yeah. What is it, Taylor?
Well, as the leader of the group, like the Taylor Abram James Barker band. No, I think we found out early on because we also started playing a ton and self-book. We played a ton of like fairs, festivals, bars, terrible bar gigs, all that type of thing. And you find out early on that if you don't say something, not necessarily like nitpicking everything minute by minute, but if you don't say something and you like hold it in and you don't voice like, hey, we should have done this better, or let's not do this kind of thing, then it harbors resentment and it builds and stuff. So we found out early on, it's just like, be honest, call out each other on what's going on. Obviously with always trying to have the noun being like what's best for everyone in the band. And just, like we've done a ton of traveling.
It's more like brother relationship than even friend. Like, more honest.
And you'd also like, you'd rather, to put it in the brother's perspective, it's like you'd rather know where you stand with someone, just be like, hey, this is me honest. Like, I'm not putting a facade like put up with someone or whatever. It's just like, hey, this is how I feel, this is how I operate, and that's how you do it, and let's figure out a way to do it together.
So is it like a democracy then, or
there's voting rights for sure?
Yeah. It's funny, we learned that early on. It was like almost like when we first started working together, you just like learn that you have like a system to do that stuff, and we're usually pretty good about like big decisions we don't generally need to go to a vote on. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the song going to be, that kind of thing. But it's like, the things you end up voting on are like, where are you gonna eat dinner, or like stuff like that. But it's almost like one of those things where like if somebody feels really passionately that a decision isn't good or isn't, you know what I mean? like feels like an outlier, then we try to work together to make sure that we're all on the same page. Because chances are, if somebody's like got a deal breaker, like hill they would die on, there's probably at least a semblance of truth to it, or
We've never had any
Right.
like big blowouts. Like
big blowouts always come
in
over.
10 years, not one
And no,
punch
like,
has ever been thrown.
Yeah.
Which is crazy when you think about it.
which is incredible.
Couple headlocks.
Couple
Couple headlocked and a couple locked doors save some punches.
And
but-
the caveat being, we all don't have backup plans, so we need this to work.
Right. Yeah. You got to figure this out.
Yeah.
Or you're 4 unemployed guys.
exactly.
100%.
Okay. So then when you have those arguments or those votes, I should say, over dinner. So what's your go-to, Taylor, for dinner?
Oh, don't ask him.
Okay. Well,
I'm
I'm you guys in. So no, not you, Taylor. What do the other
Oh.
guys say? What if he's going to suggest dinner, what's he going to suggest?
Oh,
I'm a garbage disposal. Literally,
I'm glad
though,
he
like,
said it.
yeah.
Yeah. Taylor
Okay.
Taylor always picks like weird, like somewhere with a lot of sauces. He's a sauce guy.
A sauce guy.
Palmer's sauce king, but Taylor's sauce guy.
So what?
Yeah.
What's yours, Bobby?
Mine, like I always try and get the guy. I'm like a probably more upscale, so I'm like an Earl's kind of guy. I sometimes get James to come over to the dark side, and James will come have like we got into remember the martini phase. We
Yeah,
got
we
into a
get the
phase where we got
martinis and steaks.
martinis.
We can rip.
We were living way out of our budget. When we were
Yeah,
doing
for sure we were.
that. But I'm like that kind of like that vibe.
All right. And what? James, what's yours? What's your go-to?
I do like I'm a meat man. I do like, I'm a beef. Grew up on like a beef farm, like cattle farm. Yeah. Oh man, I rip some surf and turf, but like steak, steak, burgers, man, like brisket. That's all my jam. So what
You
do
can find James in Olive Garden.
I rip some pasta?
Love me an Olive Garden.
Yeah, right.
Man.
Those breadsticks.
Endless soup salad.
Yeah.
Connor's
I
got
was just
good
gonna say Olive Garden. I don't know if you've been recently, but I went like a month ago, and they're not offering the unlimited
What?
breadsticks at the location
I'm
that I
out.
went to.
I'm out,
Boycott.
man.
And I was like, wow, I got the
Okay.
Alfredo and it was watery. So you know what? You got some making up to do to me. Olive Garden.
We might be done.
So like I said, you guys you've been together for so long. How do you think, James, how has your sound evolved since, like, you go back and listen to stuff you did at the beginning and go, wow, that's like a totally different band.
Yeah, it's crazy. We do, especially like right now, because it's the start of the year, you're kind of like building the set list, you know what I mean? And so you go back and like how these songs can interact, how can you put them in the set, the ones that were previous hits or whatever. And it's funny, actually, we heard Lawn Chair yesterday, we were driving around and we were just saying like, it's crazy how much different our sound is now, but it does feel like the kind of like values of what we were singing about then, like the perspective, that doesn't really change. I feel like that's the main thing. Like country music is so different now than it was 10 years ago, like sonically. And we're all kind of listening to different stuff, but I do feel like it always comes back to that kind of like small town experience. Like, you know what I mean? Lawn Chair is kind of like the party version of that. You didn't hear it from me. It's kind of like the heartbreak version of that. So the concepts in the songs kind of stay the same, even though it might sound like an evolved sound.
I'm glad you mentioned that because you're right. Country music is in this really weird place right now where it's super popular.
Yeah.
But it's like meshing different genres.
It's so diverse now, which I think is so sick because there was like definitely a period right before we started releasing music where like you're kind of coming out of that bro country era and it seemed like every song was kind of the same formula. You know what I mean? Same chords, same production.
Mhm.
And now you've got everything from like what could be considered like Americana, like acoustic stuff right next to a song that's got like trap hats and stuff in it. It's so diverse.
And you got rock stuff, and then you got like the resurgence of like 90s country, Zach Top. And
Zach
that,
Top
like,
to Hardy, man.
there's
It's like
so many things.
crazy.
Like, it's like there's so many genres of country music, I guess you could say. Like there's so many different sounds, especially like
And you even see it on festivals now, like because you might have like Hardy on a festival with Nickelback, right, or something like that, like or Avril or whatever. So
So does that color what you guys want to do in the future? Like, does that make you want to like push some boundaries, or does it just make you want to do what you do perfect?
I feel like we've always kind of tried to push boundaries a little bit, like sonically, and not like put ourselves too much in a box. But it definitely does like allow you the ability to then go and do that stuff and be less concerned about whether or not it's going to be too different.
or you can also get caught in like the trap of then trying to be like what everyone else is doing in
Yeah,
town.
trying to
And then
chase-
that's what we're lucky to have like 4 people kind of keep us all grounded. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like our thing when we kind of like going into like the new season of JBB and the new music is like getting back to like kind of like we're like, what is our music and what did like the fans want? And Connor came up with it. It's just like just music you can play on a boat. And I know it sounds so simple, but it's just like it's like that was our vibes, like just good, feel good music, upbeat party music.
Yeah.
Like just
It's never too emotional.
Never
you know
too
what I mean?
emotional.
Even when it's about something like a breakup or something, it's never like, oh man, I'm so depressed. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I'm bummed out about this, but I'm still gonna have a beer, which is kind of the small town thing of, small town mentality. It's like never let anything fully get you down. Life's hard enough as it is.
Yeah, it's funny because Bobby, you mentioned, that this, you called it a season of JBB.
This season,
and sometimes some people call it like the next chapter of like, do you really feel that like this is like, does every season of your existence, like have a theme and have its own identity?
Absolutely, I would say. And you don't generally know when a season is happening or when it's coming to a close, but you can feel when it's different. There's a different energy. And, us returning to Universal Music Canada and we made some pretty big business changes over the course of the last year. It definitely does feel like a new chapter. I mean, you can sense it. It's weird. You can't really tell if something's like weird or broken in a project until you fix it or like diagnose it. And it does feel like, we spent the last, year and a half or whatever being like, what are we doing? Not releasing as much music as we'd like to. And now it's just like, it feels like it's all on now. Like we're really away.
Probably the most excited. And I guess everyone says that when they come in with new, but it's probably the most excitement we've had collectively of like the new batch of songs. And like, we've been working very hard for our fans to get like, again, the best music we can possibly get out.
Yeah.
So when you work on, and you talked about working hard on something until it's just the way you get it. Do you ever just give up? Like, do you ever just, or you're working hard on something that and you're like, this isn't working. Let's pitch it, boys.
Honestly, like I would say that's something we should get better at. Yeah. It's like we will beat a horse to death, man, on like trying to make it, but it is really hard. Euthanism. Euthanism. Get that? Wow. It's
new word.
Yeah. But there is something weird about art because like there's like a level of excitement that always exists when an idea first pokes its head up, right? And then when you first have an idea to a song, you have a title or whatever, you're like, oh, that could be this amazing thing. I don't know what it could be, but I know there's potential in there for it to be amazing. And it is really hard to wave the white flag and be like, maybe that idea just is not possible to come to fruition, or maybe we're not there yet where we can bring it to fruition. But it is crazy how like ideas also never die. And so maybe you can't figure out now what that thing is that you're trying to create, but 2 years down the road, after something has happened in your life or you've had some sort of like epiphany, you can come back to that idea and make it work. But we've had to learn to get better at like, don't just push an idea because you've like got time invested. Like art and music should never be a product of like, well, we have to do it because we've invested time. That should never be the reason. You know what I mean? It should be like whatever's best right now.
Beautiful. So what are you most excited about for the next season of James Barker Band?
Probably all different, like individual answers. I love love performing, but love live performance stuff. And I think obviously we've got the show coming up on Saturday. Not to plug it, but we got the show on Saturday, and then we've got some festivals and some plans for the fall. And it's like just getting out and retooling the show because we've had a solid staples in our show for the past couple of years and stuff, and getting to like feature new music, feature new moments, feature new like transitions and all that stuff, and just like give the crowd like a completely new experience and stuff. I'm excited for that.
And having the new music to be able to play that live is always like a really special thing. Like Taylor was saying, we're playing our first show since You Didn't Hear It From Me. We're playing our first show since that came out on Saturday.
Yeah.
And that first time going out and playing new music, that's like always a super memorable moment. You know what I mean? When a song's been out for like a month.
It's scary in a way.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's like that pregame nerves of like playing in like the big game. It's like because you're playing for the first time, you don't want to mess it up.
It's so weird because you sit on songs for so long. Like the recording process is long, the writing, the time between when you write it and record it is long, and then once you release it, the whole there's so much build up to it, and so you're so used to these songs. With You Didn't Hear It From Me, we're so used to it that you forget that other people might actually know it. Do you know what I mean? And so that first time when you look and you're like, how does everyone in here know every word to this? Like it's crazy because to us up till this point, it's just been a song that's been in our heads and our phones. And so I think just for this next season, like you said, it's just exciting knowing that there's going to be a bunch of those moments because we're going to be releasing so much music.
Cannot wait for it. This next season sounds, you guys are excited. We're excited. We can't wait to see where this is going to go.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for having us.